So good day, happy to talk about Drew. I'm Ujunji 277909. We are from Group 12. Today we are going to present our group assignments. I will be starting these presentations by presenting you about our question 1. Account receivable turnover ratio. This ratio is an accounting ratio that is used to assess how well company collects receivable from debtors or clients. The ratio is also determines the numbers of times receivable are converted to cash over a given period of time. A high ratio of receivable turnover ratio implies that the company is effective in collecting debts from its customer, while low ratio indicates that the company has bad efficiency in collecting debts from its customer. Based on table, the company has with the highest efficiency in collecting debts at the hindsight could be Jack Berhad, and it has the account receivable turnover ratio trending over 12 and has the highest figure for the 7 years average from 2015 to 2021. For the worst performing company without a doubt would be Megasun City Berhad, as the company has account receivable turnover ratio that never exceeded 2 and being the lowest figure for the 7 years average. A relatively shorter collection period shows that the company has higher efficiency in collecting the payment from its clients quicker, while the shortcoming is that the company might have strict and shorter credit terms on its clients. On the contrary, a relatively longer collection period shows that the company has low efficiency in collecting payments from its clients. And so there's an inverse relationship between account receivable turnover ratio and average collection period. Based on table, the company that has the lowest average account collections period is Jack Berhad, while the company that has the highest average collection period is Megasun City Holdings Berhad. Therefore, Jack Berhad is the best performing company in using its asset to generate sales, while Megasun City underperformed significantly in using its asset to generate sales. Moving forward, average inventory days outstanding. Ideally, average inventory days outstanding should stay as low as possible, as time required for inventory to be available for sales is lower. The company that has the lowest average inventory days outstanding is TechCycle Technology and Berhad, which recorded a value of 8.06 in 7 years average, while the company that has the highest average inventory days outstanding is Jack Berhad, which recorded a value of 160.21. Therefore, TechCycle Technology and Berhad has the highest efficiency in managing inventory to generate sales, while Jack Berhad has the lowest efficiency in managing inventory to generate sales. The other 5 companies perform possible efficiency in managing inventory to generate sales, as their inventory turnover is close to average population's inventory turnover that recorded at 115 and 61. So moving forward, we have the inventory turnover ratio. This ratio is used to evaluate how well the company managed to manage its inventory when compared to sales. A decrease in the inventory turnover ratio frequently implies that the company's product lineups are uncompetitive, possibly due to outdated technology or style that has gone out of style. So the company that has the highest inventory turnover ratio is TechCycle Technology and Berhad, which is recorded a figure of 45.05, while the lowest inventory turnover ratio is the Jack Berhad, which recorded a value of 2.53. Highest inventory turnover ratio for TechCycle and Berhad indicates that the company has the highest efficiency in managing its inventory to generate sales, while Jack Berhad ironically has the lowest efficiency. For other companies, they did not perform as good when compared to the company's average. So next up, we have the accounts payable turnover. This accounting ratio is used to indicate how many times a company accounts payable are settled off in a given time frame. The company with the highest average accounts payable turnover is Megasun City, which recorded at 393.02, while the company which with the lowest account payable turnover, which is the Asia Poly Holdings Berhad, which recorded at 5.66. Ideally, the companies utilize accounts payable as the chief source of financings. So consequently, the accounts payable turnover for the company will stay at a low level as accounts payable will be recorded at a high amount. So therefore, Asia Poly Holdings Berhad that has the lowest average accounts payable turnover in theory has higher efficiency in utilizing trade credit to generate sales, while Megasun City Berhad has the lowest efficiency in utilizing trade credit to generate sales. So furthermore, we have the average payable days. This accounting ratio is used to determine the average days required for the company to settle off its accounts payable. So average payables outstanding has the negative relationship between the accounts payable turnover, whereby when average payable days outstanding is recorded at low figures, the accounts payable turnover will be recorded at higher figures. So the company that has the highest accounts payable turnover is SCH Group Berhad, which recorded at 74.77, while the lowest accounts payable turnover is Texcycle Technology and Berhad, which recorded at 0.22. So highest accounts payable turnover ratio indicates that the SCH Group Berhad should have a best efficiency in managing its trade credits to generate sales, while Texcycle Technology and Berhad has worse efficiency in managing its trade credit to generate sales. So I will now bring up Jordan to explain to you about the question 2. So thank you.
Good day, doctor. My name is Jolin Chanjun and my matrix number is 279721. So now I'm going to talk about question 2. The table shows here is the return on net operating assets for those company. So the next slide, the next table is table 14 shows the result of multiple regression between dependent and independent variable, while the next table is indicate the real effect results between independent variable and the independent variable. So according on the table, these two table, the return on net operating assets shows a positive relationship towards account receivable turnover, account collection period, and inventory turnover as their beta value recorded is positive values. Beta value for account receivable turnover recorded 0.098, while beta value for account collection period recorded 0.541, and beta value for inventory turnover recorded 0.060. In contrast, return on net operating assets shows an inverse relationship towards average inventory days outstanding, account payable turnover, and average payable days outstanding as the beta value reported negative values. Beta value for average inventory days outstanding reported negative 0.316, while beta value for account payable turnover reported negative 0.110, and beta value for average payable days outstanding reported negative 0.476. Now we will look into the next table. We will look into significant value. All the significant values for independent variables are larger than 0.05. This means that all the six in these aggregated measures of asset turnover that do not have significant impact on return on net operating assets. Consequently, we can't reject the new hypothesis on all models. In conclusion, all the six disaggregated measures of asset turnover have the relationship towards return on net operating assets, but do not have significant impact towards it. That's all for me. Thank you.
For question 3, we have separated into two parts, which is liquidity and solvency. For liquidity part, JAG Berhad has the highest liquidity ratio in account receivable turnover and day sales in receivable. However, Texcycle Technology and Berhad had the highest liquidity in inventory turnover ratio and day sales in inventory ratio. Megasun City Berhad has the highest liquidity in account payable turnover ratio, and SCH Group Berhad has the highest liquidity in day purchase in account payable ratio. So now we will look into the advantage of liquidity ratio. For account receivable turnover, it may help the company to prepare the credit policy. If the ratio is high, it means that the company has a good credit management and most of the customers are paying the debt on time. Therefore, the company can increase the credit terms to increase the revenue of the company. However, when the ratio is low, it means that the company had a bad credit policy and poor collection efforts. The company needs to adjust its credit policy to improve the liquidity. For day sales in receivable, the company can know the time that they can receive the receivable after selling the products or services. The long ratio indicates that the company received the payment in a shorter time to increase the cash flow and improve liquidity. The company can use the money in generating more income. However, the high ratio means that the company is facing problem in receiving the payment and its cash flow and liquidity will be affected. The advantage of inventory turnover is the company can determine how efficiently the company manage their own inventories to improve the liquidity. The high ratio will mean that the sales is good and the decrease in inventory can help to increase the cash flow and improve the liquidity. But the low ratio means that the company sales is probably not good and the company is poor in managing its inventory. Therefore, the company needs to improve its inventory management to increase the liquidity. The advantage of day sales in inventory is the company can know the number of days taken by a company to convert its inventory into sales. So the low ratio will mean that the company has the ability to convert inventory into sales in a shorter period. It can increase cash flow and liquidity as the handling cost is minimized. When the ratio is high, it means that the company is buying too much of the inventory or indicates that the sales is bad. The company can decrease the purchase of inventory and try to increase its sales. Next, the advantage of account payable turnover ratio is the company can determine how efficiently the management of debt is. When the account payable turnover ratio is high, it means that the company pays its debt in a shorter time and also show the liquidity of the company as the company have available cash to pay the debt. When the account payable turnover ratio is low, it means that the company takes longer time to pay off its debt. It illustrates the financial condition may be not that good and the company have to focus more on the debt management. The advantage of days purchase in account payable is the company can know how long they take to pay the creditors and what the company can do during the period. When the ratio is high, it means that the company use longer time to pay the debt, but they can use the money to increase the cash flow and the liquidity of the company at that time. So when the ratio is low, it means that the company is using shorter time to pay off its debt, but it illustrates that they are not doing anything to improve the liquidity. So they can drag the payment of debt to a certain period and use the cash to improve the liquidity within the period. Moving on, we will go into the another part, which is solvency. For solvency, we have choose two ratio, which is debt to asset ratio and total debt to equity capital ratio as our solvency ratio. After looking into all the data, we found that all the companies have the solvency ratio lower than 1 and greater than 0. It means that all the companies are considered solvent. So now we will talk about the advantage of solvency ratio. For debt to asset ratio, the company can determine the status of company by looking into its asset and total debt. When the ratio is higher than 1, it means that the company finance using debt and actually leverage. The company should decrease the funding by using debt. However, if the ratio is lower than 1, it means that the company is low leverage and able to pay off the debt by selling assets. Next, for total debt to equity capital ratio, the company can determine the status of the company by looking into its equity capital and debts. If the ratio is higher than 1, it means that the company is riskier as it used the debt to finance its growth and reduce profit margin. However, if the ratio is lower than 1, it means that the company have fewer debt and less risky.
Good day, Doctor and my fellow friends. My name is Fuyong Lee. My show number is 277126 and I will present the last question. First of all, we make empirical analysis after choosing 5 independent variables, which are company size, capital structure, tangibility, productivity, and current ratio. According to this table, company size, tangibility, and current ratio had a positive relationship with EPS, while capital structure and productivity had an inverse relationship with EPS. Furthermore, capital structure had a positive relationship with the PE ratio, while the rest has an inverse relationship with the PE ratio. This is the real effect result of empirical analysis. Then, we also make theoretical analysis by referring to journals, articles, and reports. We found that for company size, large companies that have wider resources will have a greater competitive advantages compared to small companies. Besides, large total assets can facilitate the company to make new innovation and boost the company's earnings. This is the positive relationship between the company size and the earnings of the companies and also the EPS. For the capital structure, a company that has a large debt structure indicates that this company performs well in utilizing the debt financing to support its operation and projects. Such companies usually have large profitability. Hence, there is a positive relationship between them. For the tangibility, when the companies have more fixed assets, the companies are easier to obtain debt financing as the fixed assets can act as collateral. This means that the company will have a bigger chance to obtain more debt. As we know that the relationship between the capital structure and the EPS, this also indicates that the tangibility will have the positive relationship to with EPS indirectly. For the productivity, we found that the greater the productivity, the smaller the fixed asset needed to generate 1 ringgit Malaysia of sales, the higher the earnings of the company and the higher EPS. Hence, fixed assets to sales will have a negative relationship with EPS. For the last independent variable, current ratio, research says that it had a positive relationship with EPS because its correlation with EPS is a positive value. As the earnings per share is the denominator in the calculation of PE ratio, so the relationship with PE ratio will totally different with EPS. And here is the summary of theoretical analysis. Now, let's make a comparison between the empirical analysis and theoretical analysis. Most of the relationships in the empirical analysis align with the theoretical analysis except capital structure and productivity. This may happen because of the insufficient sample in making the empirical analysis. So if we use more samples to make the calculation in the SPSS for the empirical analysis, a clear result could be found eventually. Thank you.